Mike, can you hear us?
I can, yep.
Okay, we're having video issues, so you're only gonna be able to hear us.
Okay.
Sorry. Let me
Okay.
get together first.
You start recording, correct? Okay. So welcome everyone to the Monday, May 5th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for the Village of Lansing. I apologize to all those who are online. Our in-room camera system and audio system, microphones are not working, so we're having to use our in-room laptop microphone, and the camera doesn't capture enough, so we turned off the camera. So we will do audio only for tonight's meeting. So I do apologize. Our first order of business tonight is to I'm calling the meeting to order. Obviously, our first order of business is roll call. Susan Ainsley.
Present.
Pat Gillespie. Carol Grunwald.
Here.
Kathleen Yen.
Present.
And Lonnie Hardaway is present. So all members are here and we have quorum. Our next order of business is a public comment period. This is the period of the meeting where people who would like to speak on any topic that is not already on our agenda for tonight's meeting can speak. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak?
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Deborah, you'll have to project a little bit because we're using the microphone.
This one doesn't work?
They are not working.
Oh, so I have to yell. Okay.
Pretty much.
So this is a report from our legislature. Last Tuesday evening, the county had our annual April budget retreat. The retreat is the forum at which administrative and finance staff inform the legislature as to the economic drivers and cost and revenue projections that will have to be considered in arriving at next year's budget. Ordinarily, the legislature then reaches a preliminary agreement as to the target tax levy increase for the next year. However, unfortunately, this is not an ordinary year. For the first time in my 8 years on the legislature, maintenance of effort alone is projected to require a levy increase substantially greater than the tax cap imposed by Albany. Maintenance of effort, just continuing to provide the services that we currently provide without increasing staff or programs or initiatives, is currently expected to require a levy increase of 4.74%, or approximately $2.6 million, while the tax cap is only 3.06%. That's a difference of over $900,000 that we'll have to make up by cutting something somewhere. Notably, these projections don't take into account actual funding cuts that may be coming our way from Washington and Albany. County administration has already identified about $25 million in potential federal funding cuts in the current year. That's about 10% of our 2025 budget in the county. Meanwhile, contrary to what Kathy Hochul has been putting out on the news, I've been informed by our county assembly member, Anna Callis, that New York State has yet to pass its 2026 budget, which should have been passed by the end of April. We don't necessarily know what that budget will include. The only fiscals we've seen are from the governor's executive budget proposal. But we've been advised by NISAC that that doesn't account for federal funding cuts that Albany should be anticipating, especially since approximately 40% or $91 million of our state budget comes from the federal government. So what are some of the sharpest pain points that we're anticipating? Medicaid, a program that covers roughly a third of New York State's residents, is a big one. $57 billion of that $91 billion I mentioned is for Medicaid. The U.S. House Budget Framework proposes cutting somewhere between $600 and $880 billion in Medicaid funding to the states over the next 10 years. So while it would make sense for Albany to scale back Medicaid spending, the governor's proposed budget actually would increase it by 7% or over $8 billion. New York State controls who is eligible for and what services are covered by Medicaid, but passes a good chunk of the cost of Medicaid down to the counties. Tompkins County is already paying more than $1 million a month towards Medicaid coverage for our residents. And if Washington cuts Medicaid funding to the state, we can be sure that Albany will figure out a way to pass some of that pain down to the county. Another concern is sales tax revenue, which comprises about 18% of the county's projected revenues in 2025 and about 13% of your budget for 2025-2026. Sales tax revenues leveled off last year and then started to trend slightly downward after several years of fairly robust growth in a post-pandemic boom. Although we had a robust year-over-year increase during the first quarter, Tom DiNapoli's office is warning that we should budget for a continued downward trend over the next couple of years. And given the widespread predictions of some degree of economic downturn, it would seem prudent to heed that warning. And a final red flag. Almost 20% of New York State's projected revenues are generated by Wall Street. So if and when the widely predicted recession hits, Albany could be looking at a sizable budget hole from Wall Street. So you're wondering why I'm ruining your evening with this bad news. It's simple government physics. Fiscal gravity applies and the bad stuff tends to roll downhill. In years past, the county has seen Albany shore up its budget troubles by passing costs and cutting funding to the counties. And I have no reason to expect that it will behave differently this time. So I just wanted you to be aware. I'm sure you will plan and govern accordingly. Good luck. And if you have any questions or want more detailed information, you can always contact me. My information's on the county website. Thank you. No clapping, no cheering.
Is there anyone else in the room? Yeah, I know you'll be coming up later. No one else is here. Is there anyone online who would like to speak? Hearing none and seeing none, I will move that we close the public comment period. We need a second. Thank you, Pat. Pat seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all. The next order of business is to approve our minutes from April 17th and 21st of 2025. Pat, you weren't obviously in those meetings, so we're going to have to abstain. Well, the rest of us, Jody, I looked at the minutes by the attendees. Were we all at those meetings?
Well, everyone that's here, let's see. On the 17th, it was Ronnie, Susan, and Kathleen, and on the 21st was Ronnie, Susan, Carolyn, and Kathleen. So
You're saying that I wasn't here for long, was it?
April 17th?
When you went on your college trip.
Oh, Thursday, the 20th.
Okay, so we will have to pass these two draft minutes separately then. For the April 17th, 2025 minutes, I will move that those draft minutes be approved.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion about those minutes? Okay. All those in favor of approving the April 17th meeting, please say aye. Aye. Kathleen, did you say aye? Okay, thank you. And Carolyn?
Same.
Abstentions would be Carolyn and Pat. Okay, the April 21st meeting. I will move that we approve the draft minutes of April 21st, 2025.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion about those minutes?
I just reviewed the minutes, not minutes and video. Of the planning board.
Okay.
It
It was a link to a video?
So if I said video, no, I just reviewed the minutes.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments?
So if I said both, I misspoke.
So, no other comments? All those in favor of approving the minutes from April 21st, 2025, say aye. Aye. Carolyn and Kathleen, then, would abstain? Or
No.
you there? Okay, sorry, aye. Pat's the only abstention in this case. All right, so we got that taken care of. Okay, the next order of business is consider retiree Ben Curtis's insurance request. Ben, you want to give us a heads up or what's going on here?
Okay.
We have received the information, but you brought some new information.
Pardon me?
You brought some new information.
Yeah, first, I appreciate your taking the time to reconsider this. I have many fond memories of the village and the support we received here, and I think the trustees were very supportive of the staff and more far-looking than we were, and realizing that this type of a benefit, the supplemental health insurance benefit, would be something that would be very important to us. When I was 65, I didn't fully appreciate that. Now that I'm 80, I'm very appreciative to have it. And so thank you for that, and thank you for hearing me out on this. I submitted the typical voucher I had been submitting for 15 years, and I was a little startled when it came back without the full amount that I'd requested. Since that time, I talked with Jody, and I went back through my records, and that's one reason I brought the handout today. The other reason is I worked for the village for 20 years, supporting the planning board and the BZA, and it's ruined me for life, so that I would never show up anywhere without a packet. So anyway, so you can suffer through that. Looking through this, it seemed to me that the issue that arose with regard to this voucher that I put in had been raised and resolved back in 2012. And that's what I brought you here. And I'm hoping you'll take a look at that and agree. I think at that time, the board agreed with Jody that the law as written at that time, or the benefit as written at that time, did not really support the supplemental insurance that I was using, which is the family plan. It's my wife's insurance. I've been using my wife's, been on my wife's family plan for 30 years now. I mean, when I went to work for the village, we did that. Very simple reason. At the time, if you're married, you had children, one of the people had to have a family plan to cover the children. That's just the reality. And the way that the family plans work, if you cover the children, you cover the spouse. So here we were. We could be covered on her family plan, but then the village, I'd be covered again as an individual on the village plan. And so I suggested to the village, why don't we just cut the insurance companies out of this deal and take the money that you would normally provide me for individual coverage and contribute that towards my wife's family plan. In no case exceeding anything that you would have provided me individually. And I think that made pretty good sense. And that's the way we operated while I was an employee, and the village agreed to continue that when I retired, so that I just simply remained on my wife's family plan. That was a benefit that she had through Cornell. And so they reworded the benefit. I don't have the original wording here, but they reworded it, and apparently at that point considered it to be permissible to continue forward using the family plan, which is what we've done. And so I attached the letter that Jody sent me approving, the top page, approving adding the additional amount back And then the letter that my wife provided indicating that this was all pertaining to the family plan. And through her math indicating what the individual plan and the family plan. So I think, as I say, it seemed to me that this issue had been raised and resolved, and that we've continued that way ever since. I mean, so there have been 13 years of that since then until this year. The one thing that happened this year is that I document that we've paid that. We get a notice from the state which indicates the rate that we're paying. And so I enclosed that. This year we didn't get that. I think it's because they didn't change the rate. And we couldn't get anything from the state to attach to my voucher. In fact, I finally had to go to Anna Kelly's, or my wife went to her, and with some effort, she was able to pry something out of it from them, and I think I included that with the request that you reconsider the voucher. So I'm not sure what I can add to that.
The documentation is pretty thorough, and I appreciate all the work.
Well, I learned it at a good place here.
We appreciate all the work you did provide. I think what we are going to do at this point in the meeting is, because we'll be talking about your personal finances, that we're going to go into an executive session. In order to do that, we're going to move over to the community room for a little while to cover this topic. Are we going to have any other topics for executive session tonight? Or just this one? Okay. So what we will do then is I will move that we go into.
I think that we should also, I have one or two questions regarding appointments that we can include in executive session.
Sorry?
I have one or two questions regarding appointments,
Specific to people.
specific to people, and then we'll open the government.
So we'll have two topics. One will be that we'll be discussing personal information from an individual, which Ben, you're aware of, and we'll be having a second topic at our executive session. So we might be going a little bit longer than is normal. So we will be moving into the other building so that you and Deborah can stay here and you won't have to go outside. Is that okay?
That's fine with me, sure.
Okay. So I will move that we go into a double executive session, or executive session with two topics. I need a second for that.
Second.
And that time is 7:50, and we will probably have decisions to make after that meeting, and we will make those within the public meeting once we restart the full meeting. So just give us
Great.
2 minutes, okay?
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Is the door open? Or Joy, are you getting a
Please
key?
give it to me. So did you turn off the-
I wanted to ask, we should discuss it.
I will, Mrs. Bonnie, I will move that we come out of the executive session. I need a second. Susan seconds. All of those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. So, all right, so we're back in our regular session. The next order of business is for our organizational meeting. Oh, that's true, that's true. Thank you. We need to vote on our decision from the executive session regarding Ben Curtis's request for reimbursement. So I will move that we grant Ben's request and pay to him the remainder of, the amount remaining under the $2,400 limit for 2024, this 2024 bill.
I'll second.
Carolyn seconds. All those in favor say aye. Okay, along with that decision, we discussed that we need to work on the wording for that policy within the village regarding retiree benefits for Medicare or Medicaid. And so Natalie has agreed to help us write that, and we will be forwarding that and making a decision on that at a future meeting. So the wording will be clear. Okay. The next order of business is our organizational meeting. Jody, there was a request within the executive session, the second topic, to move the appointment of Susan Ainsley as the deputy mayor, which is on the second page near the bottom, to be the very first item tonight. Okay. I will read that. And in the past, I've tried to do all the reading, but I am starting to lose my voice now. So I think we're going to take turns reading. But I will start. Got enough for me. So, resolution. Appointment of Susan Ainsley as Village of Lansing Deputy Mayor. Do we need to read the be it resolved, or can we just read the title? Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes the mayor to appoint Susan Ainsley as the deputy mayor for a one-year term. I move that resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. All those in favor of this resolution say aye. Aye. All those opposed? 3 opposed. No abstentions. So that resolution fails. Is there a nomination for a different appointee to the Village of Lansing deputy mayor?
I would move to appoint Carolyn Greenwald as deputy mayor.
Do we need to read the whole resolution again, John?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Kathleen, I will let you move that resolution. So, did she? Oh, you did, sorry. We moved too fast. Okay. Any further discussion? I will say that I have to vote nay on this because this will be Carolyn's third term, and personally, my plan for putting Susan in was to have a different deputy mayor to allow for training of another trustee. So for that reason, I will be voting against, and that's my statement. Anyone else?
And I think everyone here, I think Susan is a wonderful trustee and very diligent. That was just my opinion on, I thought Carolyn could step in immediately if there was something without a mentorship. Experience.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution appointing Carolyn Greenwald as the Village of Lansing deputy mayor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Nay.
Nay.
3 ayes, 2 nays. That resolution passes. Okay, so we can go back to the beginning of the organizational meeting minutes. Let's see here. Okay. Resolution, appointment of Jody Dake as clerk treasurer. Be it resolved that the board authorizes the mayor to appoint Jody Dake as clerk treasurer of the Village of Lansing for a 2-year term that will expire at the end of the village's official year in 2027. I will move this resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of this resolution say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Yeah, nice try, but you're not getting out that easy, Joe. Maybe next year. 2 years, yes. Resolution number, doesn't matter, appointment of Lisa Schleline as a member of the planning board. I will move this resolution and be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Lisa Schleline as planning board member for a 5-year term that will expire at the end of the village official year in 2029. Pat seconds. Thank you, Pat. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of this resolution, please say aye. Aye. Unanimous. Okay. Next resolution, appointment of Yamila Fournier as a member of the planning board to replace Pat Gillespie until May 2028. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Yamila Fournier as planning board member for a 3-year term, replacing Pat Gillespie, that will expire at the end of the village's official year in 2028. I'll move that resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion?
Yes. At the planning board meeting, Yamila announced that she's leaving the country for 2 years in August.
Okay.
So she would not be able to fill this term.
So at that point, we would have to find another, we would have to appoint.
So I'm wondering, did any other candidates come forward?
Yeah.
Deborah presented at the meeting, her interest in the planning board.
I'm sorry.
Deborah presented at the meeting with her interest in joining the planning board.
So there are,
It's not just an approach or an approach board.
That's great.
Yeah, there's multiple
They just
village members.
That's fantastic.
haven't done the interview yet.
Excellent.
So,
So the thought was that Yamila had requested being appointed to a full-time board member, given her service as an alternate member. That would give the planning board time to then interview those people who have expressed interest.
until August of 2025.
They'll finish her. Yamila will go until she can't, and then when she steps down, whoever is appointed will just fill
Finish out
her
her
term.
Oh,
So it won't be a 3-year appointment.
and we will have a resolution at that
At
point
that
that
point,
states that.
got it.
Yeah.
The alternate has moved up.
Thank you for explaining.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of this resolution, say aye. Aye. Okay, the next resolution, we can skip this one because we're not going to have a correct, Joe?
Yeah.
There's no, right now, there's no one to appoint as an alternate member as proposed, so we will skip this resolution. The next resolution is the appointment of Roy Hogman to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a term ending May 2029.
I'll second.
Thank you, Carol. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Roy Hogman to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 5-year term that will expire at the end of the village's official year in 2029. Any discussion? Oh, yeah, you second. Hearing none, all those in favor of this resolution, say aye. Aye. It's unanimous. At the bottom of the page, resolution 6945, appointment of Kathleen Yin to the Tompkins County Emergency Management Council for a period of 1 year. This is a liaison. It's a non-voting, appointment. But we thought it might be important to have a trustee there. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Kathleen Yin to the Tompkins County Emergency Management Council for a 1-year term.
I'll second.
Carolyn seconds. Any discussion?
So the bylaws changed, so it's just the city and town that actually positions on it. So the liaison, just the shift.
Yeah, the city, we could actually be a town representative, but those are all filled right now because we're part of the town.
It will be as the town's.
Yes, so if they ever
So
don't have
he's the
someone,
official.
we could, but right now it's not open, so. those in favor say aye. I'm not sure we voted. Aye. Okay. Resolution, appointment of Mike Scott to the Stormwater Coalition of Tompkins County for a period of 1 year. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Mike Scott to the Stormwater Coalition of Tompkins County for a 1-year term. I will move this resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Oh, boy.
Do you want me to read it?
Just pass it.
Now, would you please read the next resolution?
The Nacogdoches Handbook states the following: the designation of an official newspaper is generally effective for 1 year and is usually accomplished at the organizational meeting. The official newspaper must be one which has general circulation within the village. It need not be published in the village, but the Board of Trustees must determine that there is a broad distribution of the newspaper within the village. See Village Law 21-20. A penny saver or other publication which is distributed or made available primarily for advertising purposes to the public, generally free of charge, is not a newspaper for purposes of this requirement. See General Construction Law. If the village does not designate an official newspaper, then each time a notice must be published, the resolution authorizing that publication must specify the particular newspaper in which it is to be published. Given this legal requirement, the village's only option is the Ithaca Journal. In addition, the village can always publish in other papers if they wish or on the radio.
The resolution is the official newspaper, thank you. The official newspaper of the village. Be it resolved that the Ithaca Journal is hereby established as the official paper for the publication of legal notices for the village of Lansing. Move that resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Natalie, have you ever heard of the term general circulation being used to apply to online publications? I wonder if that's been sort of mentally updated for people.
Not that I can recall. Is it the journal only online circulation?
No, but the Ithaca Voice
Oh.
is, so, you know, I'm just wondering if we did have other options.
We'll think about it next year.
Okay, sounds good.
Do they print legal notices?
Pardon?
Do they print legal notices?
Yes. Oh, no. Does the Voice? I don't think so.
But maybe they want to, they find any money.
There's like the Tompkins Weekly does a lot of legal LLCs and stuff like that. But they're only once a week paper.
Yeah.
So then you run into deadline issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I think, Carol, to answer that, every time I've heard this discussed at other meetings of other municipalities or entities, everyone asks the same question: why not online?
Well, the phrase general circulation, I think, is subject to interpretation by, you know, a governing body such as NICOM.
Right. I think it is a state law, and there's no one that's pushed it through at the state level. It's not that it hasn't been tried, it has not, as far as I know. Natalie may find different, I don't think it's been successful, so. But if someone sets a precedent that's accepted, it, we can go forward too. So, but as long as that online publication obviously will publish legal notifications. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of this resolution say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, by those. Okay, Carolyn, would you mind reading a little bit?
The following are federally acknowledged holidays that the village will be observing. May 26th, Memorial Day. June 19th, Juneteenth. July 3rd and 4th, July 4th holiday. September 1st, Labor Day. October 13th, Columbus Day. November 11th, Veterans Day. November 27th and 28th, Thanksgiving. December 25th and 26th, Christmas. January 1, New Year's Day. January 19th, Martin Luther King Day. February 16th, President's Day. Establishment of meeting days. Do you want me to read the resolution?
Please.
Be it resolved that the first and third Mondays, oh wait, no, that's a separate resolution, right? Or is it? Is it the same? Sorry. Be it resolved that the first and third Mondays of the month at 7:30 p.m. and the second Thursday following the first Thursday of the month at noon, at 12 noon, are hereby established as regular meeting days for the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lansing, with the exception of federally acknowledged and major religious holidays. I'll move that we accept this resolution.
Second. Any discussion?
The only question I have is, and this may not be the time for it, but in September with NICOM, the 15th is that week, that would be a meeting that.
Yes, but that's not an official holiday, these are the same official holidays, not the days we won't. You can always during the year cancel a meeting
And reschedule.
and reschedule. Like for instance, let's look at June 19th. It's our Thursday noon meeting. So, I mean, that's officially canceled here. But when it gets closer, we're gonna have to come up, we'll either do it on a Monday, afterwards, the vouchers, or we'll schedule, say we want a Wednesday meeting, or whatever. It'll all depend on, as you get closer.
Yeah, the schedule, our schedule,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, we have to pay the bills.
Did you talk to, Ronnie, did you talk to the planning board for this July 21 date? Maybe we should do, thinking of June.
But we said.
We already said, we
already
talked
said that.
about,
All right,
we
then
had
I'm
a
not
joint
doing that.
meeting, we talked
Okay,
about
I'm
it.
just thinking if we're not doing the June meeting, okay, no, I'm just thinking.
We said it July 21st.
We had space in June is all I was thinking, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's July 21st,
All right,
sorry. Sorry. Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, say aye. Carolyn? Aye.
Just put it on the meeting dates on my calendar.
Say aye. Okay, all right.
Just put it on those dates.
Okay. Read a couple more if you can, Carolyn.
Sure. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees and the Planning Board of the Village of Lansing will have two joint meetings on the second trustee meeting of July 21, 2025 at 7:30 and the first January, July 12, 2026 Planning Board meeting at 7 p.m. I'll move this resolution. Second. All those in favor, say aye. Should I keep going?
If you don't mind.
Adopting rules of procedure for the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lansing. Whereas Village Law 4-412 provides that the Board of Trustees may determine its own rules of procedure. Now therefore be it resolved, the following rules of procedure are adopted annually pursuant to Village Law 4-412. Rules of procedure for the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lansing. Regular meetings. The Board of Trustees' regular meetings are held on the first and third Monday of each month, commencing at 7:30 in the Village Conference Room, and the second Thursday after the first Monday meeting at 12 p.m. noon, to meet with staff, with the exception of federally acknowledged holidays and major religious holidays. Special meetings. Special meetings of the Board of Trustees are all board meetings other than regular meetings. A special meeting may be called by the mayor or any trustee upon notice to the entire board. Notice must be given to each member of the Board of Trustees by telephone, in person, or email at least 42 hours in advance of the meeting.
72 hours.
Thank you, Natalie. Unless emergency requires the meeting to be held on a less than 24-hour notice. Quorum. A quorum of the board must be physically present to conduct business. A quorum of the 5-member Board of Trustees is 3, regardless of vacancies. Executive sessions. Executive sessions must be held in accordance with New York State Public Officers Law 105. All executive sessions must be entered into by a motion and made from a properly noticed and conducted open meeting. Agendas. The agenda is to be prepared by the clerk at the direction of the mayor. The mayor or any trustee may have an item placed on the agenda. When possible, items for the agenda must be provided to the clerk in writing or via email at least 24 hours before the meeting starts. The agenda must be prepared by noon on the day of the meeting. However, items may be placed in the agenda at any time. If necessary, a supplemental agenda may be distributed at the beginning of the meeting. Voting. Pursuant to New York State Village Law and General Construction Law, each member of the board has one vote. The mayor may vote on any matter, but must vote in the case of a tie. A majority of the totally authorized voting power is necessary to pass a matter unless otherwise specified by state law. A vote upon any question must be taken by ayes and nays. The names of the members present and their votes must be entered into the minutes. General rules of procedure. The mayor presides at the meeting. In the mayor's absence, the deputy mayor presides at meetings of the board. If neither the mayor nor deputy mayor is present at a meeting, the board members vote on the appointment of an acting mayor. The presiding officer may debate, move, take any action that may be taken by other members of the board. Board members are not required to rise, but must be recognized by the presiding officer before making motions and speaking. Every motion must be seconded before being put to a vote. All motions must be recorded in their entirety in the board's minutes. Once recognized, a member may not be interrupted when speaking unless it is to call him or her to order. If a member is called to order, they must stop speaking until the question of the order is determined, and if in order, they must be permitted to proceed. There is no limit to the number of times a member may speak on a question. Motions to close or limit debate may be entertained and must require a 2/3 vote to pass.
No, stop. I'll read some now. That's one. I didn't realize I was putting down this one. Guidelines for public comment. The public may speak only during the public comment period of the meeting or at such other times as a majority of the board allows. Speakers must give their name, address, and organization, if any. Speakers must limit their remarks to 3 minutes on a given topic. Speakers may not yield any remaining time they may have to another speaker. Board members may, with the permission of the mayor, interrupt the speaker during the remarks, but only for the purpose of clarification or information. All remarks must be addressed to the board as a body and not to any member thereof. Speakers must observe the commonly accepted rules of courtesy, decorum, dignity, and good taste. Interested parties or the representatives may address the board by written communications. Minutes. The clerk is responsible for taking minutes of the board. Minutes must consist of a record or summary of all motions, proposals, resolutions, and any other matter formally voted upon and the vote thereon. Minutes are not taken in executive session. However, once the board comes out of executive session, minutes must be taken of any action decided in executive session that is taken by formal vote. Executive session minutes must consist of a record or summary of the final determination of such action and the date and vote thereon, provided, however, that such summary need not include any matter which is not required to be made public by the New York State Freedom of Information Law. Minutes must also include the following: name of the board, date, place, and time of meeting, notation of the presence or absence of board members, and the time of arrival or departure if different from time of call to order and adjournment. Name and title of other village officials and employees present and the approximate number of attendees. Record of communications presented to the board. Record of reports made by board or other village personnel, and time of adjournment and signature of clerk or person who took the minutes, if not the clerk. Minutes should contain a summary of the discussion leading to action taken and will not include verbatim comments unless the majority of the board resolves to have the clerk do so. The clerk is responsible for creating a draft of the minutes within the time frame provided for under the New York State Open Meetings Law. The Board of Trustees approves the minutes at a subsequent board meeting. Amendments to the clerk's minutes require approval by the Board of Trustees by a majority vote. Order of business of the Board of Trustees. A, call to order. B, roll call. C, public comment period. D, approval of minutes of previous meetings. E, public hearings. F, old business. G, new business. H, report of officers and committees. I, appropriations. J, auditing. And K, adjournment. Okay. Someone else pick up.
I'd like to reduce recording equipment. All members of the public and all public officials are allowed to take or video record public meetings. Recording is not allowed during executive sessions. Recording should be done in a manner which does not interfere with the meeting. The mayor may determine whether the recording is being done in an intrusive manner, taking into consideration, but not limited to, brightness of lights, distance from the deliberations of the village board, size of the equipment, and the ability of the public to participate in the meeting. If the recording is determined to be intrusive and interfere with the meeting, the mayor may direct that the recording be stopped or undertaken in a different manner or location. Adjournment. Meetings must be adjourned by motion. Amendments to the rules of the procedure. The foregoing procedures may be amended from time to time by a majority of the board. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby adopts Village of Lansing rules of procedure as presented to the village meetings.
I will move that resolution. Susan seconds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving this resolution say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Catherine, could you read a little bit
Oh,
more?
sure. Municipal Law 77-3 authorizes municipal officials and employees to attend schools, conferences, seminars, etc., conducted for the benefit of the local government. However, such attendance is not authorized, nor can reimbursement be applied for unless prior approval of the Board of Trustees is obtained. It is appropriate at the organizational meeting to adopt a resolution authorizing certain individuals by position to attend meetings. The board discussed who would go to the training. There's no requirement for trustees to go to training. Planning boards and BZA are required to have 4 hours of training each year. There are many free trainings available for this. Resolution number authorization for the clerk trustee Jody Dake and 2 trustees to attend NICOM Fall Training School. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby grants permission for Dake and 2 trustees to attend NICOM Fall Training School September 15 through 19, 2025. Move to have, is there somebody who wants to move that?
I will move it.
Have 3 village representatives attend NICOM conference. Just second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion about this? Be thinking if you would like to attend NICOM, Pat, if you could, it's an excellent conference to attend. You're new, you get some out of it, but it depends upon your schedule if you want to. But I think everyone who's attended can recommend it. It's a lot of fun, very educational, and you meet great people and make good contacts. This year?
Like last, I believe.
September.
So, just be thinking. Yeah, we have not voted. That was my discussion. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll wait a little bit now. Resolution, Code and Zoning Officer to training. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby grants permission for Code and Zoning Officer Mike Scott to attend the Planning Federation and STBOA conferences and code classes. STBOA is Southern Tier Building Officials Association. It's also called STBOA, if you ever hear that. I will move this resolution.
Second.
It's been seconded by Susan. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The code and zoning officers required to have 24 hours of training each year. Resolution number, whatever, authorization to pay claims prior to audit. Whereas the Board of Trustees has determined to authorize payment in advance of audit claims for public utility services, postage, freight, express charges, credit cards, debt service, and other bills for avoid finance charges. Whereas all such claims shall be presented at the next regular meeting of audit. Be it resolved that the village clerk treasurer is hereby authorized to pay claims for utilities, postage, insurance, debt service, and other bills to avoid finance charges prior to audit by the Board of Trustees. I will move this resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Salary for Board of Trustees. Be it resolved that the salaries for the Board of Trustees and the mayor are hereby set at $20,000 for the mayor and $7,000 for each of the 4 remaining trustees for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. I will move this.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of this resolution say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Susan, would you like reading one?
Of course not. Compensation for planning board. Be it resolved that the compensation paid to planning board members is hereby set at $10,000 for the chairman, $5,000 for each of the 4 members of the fiscal year 2025-26.
I will move this resolution.
Second. Is there some discussion?
Yeah,
Should we, resolve that the $10,000 is for the chairperson?
It does in there.
It
it's
says
in
the chairman.
Oh, we want to.
Okay, so
Oh, gotcha.
I want for the chairperson
He's the chairman.
currently, but if that changes,
Well, then the next resolution will change.
we should just do chairperson and we're covered.
Nice catch. Any other discussion? All those in favor of this resolution say aye. Susan, keep going, please.
Resolution, compensation for Board of Zoning Board of Appeals. Be it resolved that the compensation paid to BZA members is hereby set at $100 per meeting for each of the following meetings for the fiscal year 2025 to 2026.
Cody, how many, meetings did we have last year?
Maybe one.
Not many.
One BZA?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe zero.
1-0?
That's good though. I would say we were just three.
Last year.
There wasn't any this last one. There was two together, I think. Maybe there's one.
I mean, the visitor, like one.
Doesn't matter. I can look it up if you guys are really interested.
Not many.
There aren't
Yeah,
any.
not many.
Any other discussion about this resolution? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, second.
I'm sorry, moved. Second, okay, sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Susan, are you good for one more?
I sure am. Appointment of elected member to the Southern Cayuga Lake Intermunicipal Water Commission. Be it resolved that Carter Ray is hereby appointed as an elected village representative to the Southern Cayuga Lake Intermunicipal Water Commission.
I will move this resolution. Susan seconds. Is there any discussion? You might hear this at times referred to as the Bolton Board meetings. But this is the official title of the organization. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll read it for a little bit. Appointment of non-elected members of the Southern Cayuga Lake Commission. Well, this one is, we don't need to go through this one. We currently don't have anyone that has, we have selected to try to appoint to this. Don Hartel, who passed away, was the non-elected village representative, so we will need to try to find someone to come in. They are a voting member. Don regularly attended even during illness and provided comments, asked questions, and voted. So I have found these meetings, just to let you know, I found these meetings to be very informative and beneficial. They're a good group of people to know and to work with. So if you know of anyone who might be interested in quality of water, who are non-elected, just residents within the village, bring up the name and contact them and see if they're interested. Okay, so we won't need to go through that resolution today. Okay, next resolution, appointment of Kathy Meehan to the Cayuga Lake Watershed and Municipal Organization representing the village of Lansing. I will move that resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. All those, well, is there any discussion?
So if you want to stay on the board, that's fine with me.
No,
Like, seriously.
thank you.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I think we decided on co-chairs. This was in one of our communications. So, the Resolution, appointment of Kathleen Yen and Lonnie Hardaway as co-chairs, and Patrick Gillespie and Lynn Leopold as members to the Climate Smart Communities CSC Task Force and Clean Energy Communities Task Force. I will move that resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion? I will tell you that the CEC might be phasing out from the state side, so we're not sure. They're still waiting to get final resolution, but it might just go to the CSC. So we're waiting to hear about that. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Resolution to appoint Climate Smart Cities Coordinator. Be it resolved, the Village of Lansing Board of Trustees hereby appoints Lonnie Hardaway as the coordinator of the Village of Lansing Climate Smart Communities CSC Task Force with a term ending May 2026. I'll move this resolution.
Second.
Part of the discussion, eventually, I would like to see Kathleen Yen moved in as the chairperson for the CSC Task Force, and at some point, once she's more comfortable with that and with submitting evidence, we might make her the coordinator, but I don't mind doing this. It's basically a requirement of the state, and there's really not much activity beyond what the chair of the task force does anyway. So it's just a formality that the state requires. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you. Pat, do you mind reading a little bit? Sure. Okay.
Appointment of Ronnie Hardaway as representative and Susan Ainsley as the alternate representative to the Greater Tompkins County Health Insurance Consortium, and Jody Dake as the benefits administrator.
I will move this resolution.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of this resolution say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great, Pat, thank you.
Appointment of Carolyn Greenwald as chair and Lynn Leopold and Larry Berry as members of the Greenway Committee.
Should I add all the members of the Greenway Committee to this? Because I'm remembering 2 people here, but we have a lot of members now. Can I just write them down for you? Maybe we can skip this one for a second? Right. I just gotta look it up. So, can we just move on and come back to this one? I'll make you a list.
Just give me a list, I'll put it here, we're gonna add it.
I'm just looking at their names, so I don't know off the top of my head, I want to say.
So you, Lynn, Larry,
Sarah Moira.
Sarah,
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry.
That's okay, it will only take you a second.
I didn't realize that we appoint people, or I would have given you a list before. And then emails from the towns, I need a second. Susan Vilero, Viliero.
here we are. What was Sarah's last name?
Shields, Shields.
She's just a community, they're both just community representatives.
Jacob Menshaw, Mechow. Jeffrey Scott, and Stephen Younger. That's everyone.
What was Meshaw's first name?
Jacob.
You got him?
Okay.
Thanks, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I will move this resolution.
Second.
Pat seconds. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Pat, one more, please. Sure.
Appointment of Ronnie Hardaway to the Ithaca International Air Services Board.
I will move this resolution.
Second.
This is basically, for some reason I slipped off their email list and I've missed a couple of meetings. I finally contacted, what's her name? Roxanne, to put me back on. She doesn't know how it happened. So for future meetings, I will be attending this. It's basically a hear. The reason we joined this is that I'm not really a voting member, I'm a liaison. The voting member comes from the town. But I keep an ear open as to any potential construction projects or projects that are going on within the airport that the village might need to know about, especially related to potential inspections by the code enforcement officer. And letting John, the DPW superintendent, know what's happening. So that's rare, but that's why I'm there. Was this moved? Seconded? I'll move.
Second.
Kathleen seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I'll read a little bit of that, thanks. Appointment of Trustee Gillespie as representative on the Joint Youth Commission for the Village of Lansing. Okay, yeah, do spell check.
Yeah.
I almost
I saw
forgot
that.
spelled. To the Joint Youth Commission for the Village of Lansing. Be resolved that Gillespie is appointed to the Village of Lansing representative on the Joint Youth Commission. I will move that resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Resolution appointment of Joshua Jahani as community representative on the Joint Youth Commission for the Village of Lansing for 1 year. Be it resolved that Joshua Jahani is appointed as the Village of Lansing community representative on the Joint Youth Commission. I will move that resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion?
So
We already did it, we just, to get him on the yearly cycle as part of the organizational meeting, that's why we're doing it here. That's why we did his coordinator one also, just to get everybody, it's so much easier to find appointments and it's all in one place for it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Appointment of Carolyn Greenwald as representative on the recreational partnership for the Village of Lansing for 1 year. Be it resolved that Carolyn Greenwald is appointed to the Village of Lansing representative on the recreational partnership. I will move that resolution.
Second.
I think Kathleen,
Okay. Kathleen?
just one of those meetings.
Is there, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Appointment of Ryan Hardway as representative and Susan Ansley as alternate on the Tompkins County Council of Governments for the Village of Lansing for the period of 1 year. Be it resolved that Ryan Hardway is appointed as the Village of Lansing representative and Susan Ansley as alternate representative on the Tompkins County Council of Governments.
Second.
Moved. Susan second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution, appointment of Mike Baker as the Village of Lansing representative on Tompkins County Planning Federation. I will move that resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Susan seconded. Is there any discussion? All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, appointment of Lynn Leopold as the Village of Lansing representative on Tompkins County Water Resources Council. I will move that resolution. Pat seconds. Is there any discussion?
She's an associate member, isn't she? She's no longer a voting member.
I'm not sure.
She can still be.
Well, she can still be the representative.
She can still be the representative. Okay. Any other discussion? Oh, I will move this.
You already did.
Did?
Pat said
Sorry,
second.
I'm sorry. Forgetting, okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Appointment of Susan Ainsworth as the Village of Lansing representative on the Youth Services Board. I will move that resolution. Kathleen seconds. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mileage reimbursement rate. It is all good. Mileage reimbursement rate to village employees using personal cars for village business shall be the federally approved mileage reimbursement rate. I will move that resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Procurement policy. Whereas section 104B of the general municipal law requires the governing body of every municipality to adopt a procurement policy for all goods and services which are not required by law to be publicly bid. And whereas the village's procurement policy, which was approved on January 7th, 1992, states that there will be an annual review of the policy, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees have reviewed the current procurement policy and do hereby adopt the procurement policy. I will move this resolution.
Second.
Carol seconds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Investment policy. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees have reviewed the current investment policy and do hereby adopt the investment policy. I will move this resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion about the investment policy? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Capital assets policy.
So,
Sorry.
do we just want bank here at the top, Tompkins Community?
I would just say the bank.
What? We don't have to do the bank on here. No, because we did that the previous year, if it's still on that sheet, then it doesn't need to be done, because it's all part of the investment policy. And Tompkins Community is already there. Before it had a Tompkins Trust Company, and we changed the name of the bank, is that what you're talking about?
Right. Okay, it
It's
just
already
says
in
Tompkins Community, I just added the word bank.
And
We
that's,
took that resolution totally out, there's only investment policy, is that what you're talking about? Huh?
If the actual investment policy
Chapter
is in
20.
the word bank, is what you're saying?
Yeah. So, it
Yeah.
just said Tompkins Community.
Yeah, change the name.
Within the policy.
Okay, so right here, I just wrote that in, Tompkins Community Bank, right?
Well, this policy probably has.
That was when,
This is just a note about.
yeah, that's just.
Just so that, so you don't.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
okay.
We could judge
We'll treat that as a friendly amendment.
Sorry.
Okay, it's good.
No, that's not
Good to be accurate. Well, Jody will add bank to that line within the investment policy.
Oh, really? You do beginning, that's not bad. Not a good thing.
Okay, moving on. Capital assets policy. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby adopt the capital assets policy. I will move that resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion about the capital assets policy? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Kathleen, did you vote? Okay, just here to make sure. Aye, correct. Voted aye? Okay, I think you turned your head and you said it. Thank you. Okay. The workplace violence policy and incident reporting, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees has reviewed the violence policy and incident reporting form and appoints Mayor Hardaway as a designated contact person. I will give this resolution.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion about this? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye. Okay. And that's that. The organizational meeting is officially closed. That's just my voice. Okay, I think that I'm going to slightly switch up the agenda tonight. And put revisions, and I'll think it all. We'll be clear at the end. So we're going to go around the table. Pat, this is your meeting. You have anything to report?
I do not.
You're sure? This is your chance.
Okay.
That's okay.
Well, welcome as our new
well,
trustee.
well,
Did you write down?
Susan, do you have anything tonight?
We met Roxy Johnson, gave a presentation on drinking water. And so that presentation is available online. The planning board met the Llama Building daycare. Those folks that were interested in the daycare were a no-show. So the planning board determined that it might be a nice idea if they showed.
They did show up. Yes. Probably good.
Yeah, so that was that. They're ready to have us look at the tree law, and know that already. And that's about it. The Youth Services Board met, and I must say, Olin Mack, who is the new executive director, is moving that forward with lots of good programs. And as Deborah pointed out, funding is pending. So they are up to 12 full-time and 2 part-time people, which is pretty amazing.
That is good. It's good news.
Yeah.
Can I ask,
I'm done.
what did they say about the drinking water?
It's just because she gave her presentation.
So did she have results about?
It's just, the, Bolton Point, she is the, remind me what Roxy's long title is. Director.
I don't know. I can't remember.
But anyway, the whole watershed in terms of where the water comes from, 6 Mile Creek, the reservoir, and huge, many graphics. And I think I sent them down to you.
Did they talk about portability?
A lot about that.
Or what did they say?
In general terms, I don't have a note.
Did they, well, I just want you to remember, I'm just curious, did they, you worried, did they find contaminants?
Oh,
Did
no,
they,
no.
what did they say about, what they're finding in the water in terms of its health? Just asking about the health of our water.
It's not going to last forever, and the health of the water is always a problem.
Did they say that, they noticed something?
Yes, and I would recommend.
Okay, I'll take a look,
Looking at a whole presentation if you want.
I'm definitely interested, thank
Not
you.
to get into the weeds here.
That all, Susan?
That's it.
Thank you. Carol?
So the rec partnership has had 2 meetings. They were kind of asking us, it's kind of the cart before the horse thing, how do we want to set the budget for the meeting? And they're gonna come back with some proposals, kind of similar to what Deborah was talking about, maintenance of effort they always talk about, versus we want to add some more services. So we will hear back from them. The comprehensive plan committee has continued to meet and has been working very hard on completing a very important document for the village. Kathleen's done an amazing job with a lot of the data collection and the consensus information, and the entire committee's done an excellent job in terms of thinking about the policies that we want to put forth, editing what was there that's no longer relevant, putting up new topics that are coming. And so we had talked previously about this being something that we talk about at the planning board level. So I don't know if you want to talk about it and see it before our joint meeting, or that would be a grand, I kind of envision sending everybody the Google Doc and letting people kind of just make comments, and we can all talk about them together. Is that too big of a discussion, and do we want to talk about it first here? Or do you want to talk about it all together? And either way, we'll have a draft ready for you in July, at the beginning of July. So do people have thoughts about that?
Well, July's the joint meeting.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it.
It might be nice to just
Get one
have one
done here.
conversation
Okay.
before the joint meeting.
So Jody, what's the meeting before the joint meeting for this board? The joint meetings in July
The
21st.
last one, yeah, I don't even know if we have the first one, because it's 4th of July. What's the first Monday in July?
July 7th.
So,
7th, so that'll be it.
So maybe we put it on the agenda for July 7th. Kathleen and I'll make sure you get it the last week in June. And you can go and make comments right into the Google Doc with your thoughts. So what I try to do is resolve the simple comments, just resolve it, like you change the spelling of this, like fine. But there's like one thing in there where John Courtney didn't agree with me, so there's a note that says, John wanted me to take this out, the group discussed it, we're leaving it in, what do you guys think? So that's a typical note that you'll see when you guys get the document. If there's, that's like the only one, because a whole controversial so far, but there'll be more things that people want to see more of or less of. Okay, so we'll aim for that, so the last week in June.
the one issue is that Deborah and I will be gone, and I won't be here for most of that discussion, but I trust the trustees.
Do you mean the 21st or the previous meeting?
I won't be here for July 7th.
So,
I'll be gone through most of June and July, through July 7th.
We won't really have a draft much before then, but you can put any kind of comments in if you want. I
Sooner
don't know.
than- yeah,
You
sooner
guys
than-
are going away for a long term again?
Yeah,
Also, you can just come make your comments after, it's a working document
Okay.
until the end of the year.
As long as-
6 more months.
Okay, that'll be fine too. So just for that particular cycle of discussion, I probably won't be here.
And then just lastly, with regard to the Lansing Trails Committee, I was only attending the meetings virtually or just following them along, because I had a conflict by paper. I don't know if I told you guys that the chairman left the country and now Pat Tyrell is the chairman, which is great because he's the head of the Parks and Recs department in the town. And it's very, a person who's willing to take on tasks. So, but I'll be continuing in person with those meetings from now on because my conflict resolved. That's it for me.
Well, let's see. Well, the Tompkins County Emergency, not emergency, Environmental Management Council met April 10th, and they had a presentation on the protecting, I think it's Green New Deal. They're going to have a follow-up in June, so 2 different perspectives. So the presenters were Jacob May, Assistant Professor of Civil and Environmental Engineering at Bartram, also environmental engineering, and Bethany, and I cannot pronounce the last name, it's Ojalehto, Mays, PhD. So they provided one perspective, the PowerPoint is available, and then the other, it concerned exemption from the fossil fuel phase out. And then in June, another group from Cornell will be presenting a different perspective. So, let's see. May 8th, this Thursday actually, from 4 to 6 at Stewart Park Lodge Pavilion. There'll be a get-together with municipal and county conservation groups.
How many groups do you think are attending?
I don't know how many will attend. But it should be
Is there a lot?
interesting because there'll be some updates on what different municipalities and groups are engaged in, so it should be interesting. And then July 10th, there's going to be an in-person strategic, although they'll also be Zoom, so it'll be hybrid, at the Art Space Gallery. And that will be really focused totally on the strategic plan. And then the Tompkins County Core Advisory Group, their next meeting is June 17th. They meet every 2 months. And if anyone's interested and has, the focus is on disabilities and emergency planning. That's it.
Thank you, Karen. So, for Mayor's comments, there's 2 subjects. The Sewer District 1 sewer project from the town of Lansing that will connect into our new sewer main built out on County Heights Road. at East Shore Drive. There have been a lot of issues with that project, the information coming from the town to the village, our village, Village of Lansing, and also to Village of Cuyahoga Heights. There's been a lot of miscommunication, there's been a lot of information triangulation, where information gets dropped, information gets forgotten, it gets embellished. So I undertook the task of calling all of the principal players together in the one room from town, our village, and Village of Cuyahoga Heights to get all of the wrinkles, so to speak, ironed out. And it looks, I'm doing when to meet poll, that Carol, I need to add you to that list to see if you can attend the meeting. I think it will be next Monday at 11 o'clock. I was hoping for a 2-hour window, but it looks like I can only get a 1-hour commitment from most people, so it may wind up being a second meeting. But we're going to have a short, I say short, a brief description with long discussions about each topic potentially, but I'm going to try to keep it crisp. I want to get everything resolved, so when we finish those meetings, everyone's on the same page and the project can move forward. There's just been a lot of information that has dropped, communications dropped. We've made requests, the requests were not answered, so there are some real issues. So I'm going to do my best to facilitate all this down and get it going. So I just wanted to let you know that that's going to be going on.
Who are the people specifically?
I'm sorry?
So would that include Brent Cross?
Yes.
Would it include Mike Wilson
Yes.
and John Whitney
Yes.
and Ruth Brock
Yes.
and the mayor of
Yes.
TIs, and that's the
Yes.
list?
That's not the whole list. The attorney from the town, the attorney from, an attorney that we know, and I'm not sure about the Village of Cuyahoga Heights. Who's the, do you know who?
Alan Vandermark.
Alexander, is attorney, you guys?
I don't think,
Not retired.
I don't think that
Randy was retired.
Cuyahoga Heights attorney has been invited, but they could be at the last minute. But the important part is we've got everyone in the room, so nothing can be misunderstood. We all hear it at the same time. So I'm going to do my best to make that as crisp as possible and a productive meeting and not waste all the municipalities' resources that are going to be in one room for that meeting. So just to give you a heads up, Carol, I'll send you that invitation after this meeting.
Is it Zoom or is it in person?
It's going to be in person.
I have conflict, but,
Okay.
I thought
Well,
about it.
you don't have to be there. I don't think we're going to record it. No one's requested Zoom. If we can, and we can get it working, we'll try to record it.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay, so I just want to give you a heads up that's going on. So the other topic is public service warning. This past Saturday morning, Deborah and I were driving down to Stewart Park to participate in the NAMI Finger Lakes Charity Walk, which was great. We got in the car and started down, we started getting all of these warning signals on our Prius Prime dashboard. Brake power low, anti-lock brake system malfunction, pre-collision system malfunction, check cruise control system, and with directions to take the car practically immediately to the dealership. I thought, well, in doing research, and this was Saturday, so the dealer's not open. I thought, well, I did the research, I thought, oh, the brake fluid might be low, and it's just affecting everything. And we didn't, there was nothing on Friday. We drove the car on Friday and it was fine. So it was just overnight, something happened. So this morning we drove our car, it was no water, turned it into service, and I got some repairs. So they had to fit us in, so we had to drop it off, come home and show. And they called me later in the day and reported that our speed sensor cables had been cut under the car. They weren't stolen, they were just cut. And they had photographed it, and they showed me the photograph when we went to pick up our rental car. And yes, it had been cut with like wire snips.
At your house?
At my house. Yeah. So Toyota's ordered the cable, and that's gonna be installed hopefully tomorrow, but we had to get the car. But we drove over to the county sheriff's department and we filed a complaint. And we had a great officer over there, Taylor Polke. She's very helpful, but she advised us maybe to install a security camera to monitor our property. And she also is going to request that their patrol cars make extra nighttime drive-bys on Dark Drive. And hopefully soon we'll have street lights. And for a little while, I don't know for how long. But I just want to warn you all, and knowing residents and businesses, that we apparently have a member of or a member or visitor to our village who's willing to damage property and endanger lives with malicious intent.
Did the police say anything about, like, you know how a couple of years ago, everyone was gonna have a
No, there was,
anywhere near it?
no,
Or
that
steal
was
something?
the only damage. The cable was not cut out as wire,
They weren't
it was
trying to
just
steal anything?
cut. And I'm concerned that the person who was doing that might have been trying to snip the brake line. And they thought that the cable that they saw was a brake line. And in that case, Deborah and I might not be here today. Because we drive down the hill, and if we wouldn't be able to stop, you know how much traffic is down there. So I just want to warn you that has happened. And I don't know if it's going to be I don't know if it's an isolated incident or if it's just someone that's figured out something to do. It just doesn't make sense that that's all they would do. If they're criminal, they're gonna steal something, but all they did was snip the cable. So just wanted to warn you that it's happened, and we were pretty shaken up when we found out. So anyway, that's why I wanted to do it last. So get the word out and let people know that to be aware, pay attention to your cars. So
Sheriff said the same thing, had any other reports.
she did not. She seemed surprised. She'd never heard of it. She didn't know what the sensor cable was. But she asked, well, was it the brake line? And no, it's not that. But something
She
associated.
doesn't have to, they're wrong.
It's important. It involves, it can't tell if the car is how fast it's going, if it's trying to stop, if it has stopped. Therefore, all of the electronics you can't use cruise control because it doesn't know how fast you're going, so it can't keep itself monitored.
That would be good to just alert, to the sheriff's department to alert people that just to be on the lookout.
They might do that. We'll leave it up to them. They're professional. Judging by the officer that we interacted with, they're very professional. Anyway, that was that. So that was why I wanted to do it last. So anyway, just be careful, be aware. You see things like that on your car, it starts being reported. The brakes worked, but you can't use anything else in the car that you might need to. So.
And mine, you have a smart car.
Yeah, a hybrid.
Hybrid,
EV hybrid.
yeah.
A lot of electronics, but most of the cars have the things that we have.
However, it would have to be somebody with experience about them.
Potentially, or they're inexperienced, they were going for a brake line and they got the wrong cable.
Well, I'm sure
Yeah.
grateful for that,
Yeah.
at least.
We are too.
But living on that side of the world, I'm extremely upset.
So anyway, I have nothing further for tonight. So I will move that we adjourn. Any second? Captain, second.
Check your cars.
All those in favor say aye.